Nemophila, apple of my eye, the brand new album. It's just come out, and we are here to discuss it on Ears to the East. Hello, guys.
Bum, bum, bum.
Neon, it's Benedict, it's myself, and okay, so the album came out at midnight last night, Japanese time.
For you, yes.
Yeah, well, where
Yes.
did it actually come out at the same time for you guys, or was it like one of those ones that
No,
came out when the time zone came around?
I stayed
Came,
up. I stayed up at midnight my time, but it didn't drop anywhere. So I went to bed, and then when I woke up, it was there. So
Oh,
it was like
okay.
11 o'clock in Germany, at least.
11 a.m.?
AM, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. So the timing that it came out was really inconsistent for everyone. Okay. Well,
That's also
we've
why I
all-
could only listen to it one time so far.
Oh my God. Well, there we go. Well, I mean, in all fairness, it did come out less than 24 hours ago for all of us. So let's just put that as the caveat when we're talking about how we feel about this new album. Well, who wants to start us off on this one? Because, you know, we got a first 10-track album. It's not like we get many full-length albums these days, is it? I mean, the last one I think was Epic Narratives by Bandmate. It's like most of the time we get mini albums.
I know, I know.
Let's
That's
kick
fair
this
enough.
off.
Actually, it feels really weird. Again, I've said this a million times, but the start of this year feels really slow in all comparison to like many other years. I don't know why.
Bro, it's 3
kind of.
weeks in, and we've already had a bunch of releases. Like, what the fuck do you want?
More
But
stuff.
also, this is another album where at least I think 4 songs were released before. So kind of similar to Epic Narratives.
Was it 4 or was it 3?
I thought it was
'Cause we had
3.
like Brainwash, G.O.D, and Beautiful Days.
And Progress, I think.
And
Progress was released before.
I knew Progress before.
Yes.
I heard a couple of people in my comments saying they'd heard it before. I wasn't aware of it.
I
know
don't
that
think it
come out
had
as
a
live
music
version.
video. That's probably why not.
Yeah, that's
everyone-
probably
Well,
why
it
not.
doesn't. It doesn't now. By the way, when Progress doesn't have the music. Did it? Do you mean it came out as like a live version or something? Maybe.
I think they just
I think
released
they
it as
just
a
dropped the song.
official audio on their channel.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd never seen that. All right, fair enough.
I completely missed it as well. I was the exact same. I got comments on my videos today going, "Hey, Progress was prior released." I was like,
Yeah.
"Was it?" I
All
was
right,
like,
fair enough, Ned. Shows how much
And
time it is.
also-
I'm sitting there at midnight waiting for the album to come out. It turns out there's a track already out that I wasn't even aware of. Fair enough.
Yeah. And also it was funny, I was looking at the track list. We were looking at it before and I thought error detection was an actual error by the translation or something, but the song is actually called Error Detection, so yes, fair enough.
I love how that's the assumption you went to. You just went to the assumption.
Yeah, because the song list, every title had like a number before, and then it's just said error detection without the actual track number. So
Do you think that was just their website like fouled up? You know, like when you write a number in like a text document and it turns it into bullet points. You're like, no, I didn't want bullet points. And if you type
It
error
just
detection in, maybe it just
fooled
like
everyone.
I'm
Just
having
me.
so much fun just visualizing Benedict spending like half an hour to 45 minutes trying to find the name of this fucking song. Like Googling, like, what the fuck is this song?
What's wrong with my PC, man?
He's going out there, you know, throwing his PC in the bin,
Yeah.
buying a new one. The new one arrives, then just opens up error detection is again. What is wrong with this?
All right, do you want me to throw out maybe a controversial opinion?
Oh shit! Yeah, we're talking about an
Go ahead.
album, aren't we?
Yeah, you ready? You ready? I think this could be an early shout for album of the year already.
I love how when you have a controversial opinion, it's never like one that's going to test people. It's only one that's going to make people go, "Oh yeah."
Well,
These
like you said,
controversial
we're
opinions.
3 weeks in, and I'm putting my balls to the wall here. I'm like, yeah, album of the year.
You know half the people watching this video are going to be Nemophila fans. Benedict, do you see now why he's got over 20,000 subs? Do you see how this
Yes,
works?
I see how it works.
He knows what the people are here for.
Uh,
All right,
I
go on.
really-
So
I
you were
really-
saying it's been a slow January. So nothing's come out. The first thing that comes out, and you're like, album of the year.
album of the year, yeah. Until something else comes out and dethrones it, then that's the way it
Until
works.
something else comes out.
Are you actually arguing that you think it's going to be the only album this year? It's like, oh, it's the album of the year.
Then
It's not
I
the
will
best
agree
album.
with Neon.
Yes,
The best album is the worst album. It's the only
Yes.
album.
it's the
Yes,
only album
only
so
album
far,
of
but
the
it's
year.
the best album of the year.
All right, explain your reasoning.
I actually thought this was a step up. I came into this one a little bit. I know we hate going on about it, but this was like a complete opposite to Epic Narratives for me. I heard 2 songs beforehand, so I came into this one relatively not knowing 8 of the songs before coming into it. So I thoroughly enjoyed this album. I thought everything was a step up. I kind of went maybe a little bit in the back of my head. I came into this album with my expectations maybe a little bit lowered. I know that we were talking about like obviously the missing leak of Saki and stuff like that, and I was a bit worried how they were gonna deal with that. I mean, they've shown over the months that touring and releasing the songs and stuff that they're more than able, but there was always still that little bit of okay, let's just see how this turns out. And I got to admit, they blew all kind of like expectations out of the water. I love the flow of this album as well. I love how it grabs you by the balls straight off the bat. It's like straight in there. First three songs are just chaotic. Yeah, this is what we're all about. Then we get into like a lovely kind of soft filling midsection of this album, and then finish off on again kind of a sort of like semi brutal end. But I would say it leads more towards like the rocky side of Nemophila as well. It was just an album from start to finish. Apart from one song that I
It
have,
was an album from start to finish.
it was an album from start to finish. It was an album that flowed all the way through, and with the only exception of one song that I thought was a little bit out of place on
Let's go.
which which is my only for every song was up there, and that one song just felt out of
Here's
place.
the actual controversial moment.
Yes,
Here it is.
it was I can't remember. It was Kaka something, Kakagora or something.
Akakagachi.
Kakagachi. There we go. I had to look.
Kaka. Thank you. That was
Yeah,
the
yeah, it
most-
was.
Yeah,
It
I
was
wanted
Kaka.
to talk about that song too.
I liked it. It was. It's not like it was a bad song by any stretch of the imagination, but I just, for some strange, it just that was the one time in this whole entire album that kind of just drew me out a little bit. And I was listening to it, and I was like, I like this, but I'm just like, I'm not vibing with it either. At least for the first half of that song with the drums, I was like, yeah, this is good. This is experimental. And it's always a bit of a weird thing because you want bands to be experimental, you want them to try new things. But I just thought the placement and that song just it was like being in a classroom with like the one kid who's eating Play-Doh. You're like, he's like, is he supposed to be here?
The song isn't so bad, but it reminds me of someone with learning difficulties.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
Jesus Christ, dude.
You know, I'm kind of inclined to agree with Neon a little bit. I don't think it's so different, but I had to think a little bit of our weird collab video, and it kind of sounds a bit like Nemogaki or like Wagaki Band and Nemophila together, but somehow, yeah, does it really work that well? I'm not sure.
like I said, I think the drumming's good. It's a good song. Like I said, it's not
The
like it's
drumming
inherently
is
bad. It
Excellent
just
on the whole album.
on the whole album, oh, Tamu absolutely
But
kills it.
you're talking about the taiko drum.
Yeah, the taiko, like the hand
Yes.
drums or whatever they are. Yeah,
Is it like these huge like side drums, or what kind of drums were there?
I'm not too sure. They sounded like the hand patty ones to me.
Well, no. So
Thought
they
it
were
was like
definitely
these side drums like they use in Wagaki Band.
okay. So I mean, just to clarify, I'm working on the basis I don't know every type of drum out there, but I'm confident from what I do know that it sounded a lot to me like it was taiko drumming, and you can tell partly because there's a part where they move to like using the sticks on the rim. So it sounds like a taiko drum. So yeah, you can have the side taiko drums, but this sounded more like the more normal sized ones that actually no, a lot of them you do play them like that as well. There's different types of taiko drums, but yeah. These sounded like a little bit smaller. They didn't sound huge. But I would say actually my main issue with because if someone told me Nemophila with taiko drumming in it, I would be like, yes, 100%. But I think actually the reason, and I said this in my reaction, I think the reason why this one didn't work, and I'm going to shock you by saying I actually completely agree with Neon that this is probably the song that was my least favorite on this one.
Yeah, I agree
is
too.
because, oh my
We
God,
agree.
Jesus Christ.
What?
Oh no, the dimensions are splitting. And
Yeah. Some people like it's their favorite song.
What's going on? Somebody hold on to something quick.
that fucking
that's
Oscar
it now.
award-winning acting going on there. So
This is it now. This is the last episode ever. We've all agreed on something. That's it.
well,
Been a good
the
run,
reason,
people.
the reason why the drumming for me didn't work as much is because I mean everything about the way it was written it should have worked, but the way it was recorded it was really weird because it sounded like they were in different rooms. Like the band sounded very much like it was studio recorded. You know, it was very clean, very sharp. He had the compression in the right places. The dynamics were in a certain way. The taiko sounded like it was recorded in a very different setting. The sounded like it had a totally different room sound. And the problem, I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to keep Nemophila sounding like Nemophila, and but also make the drums feel very alive and natural, and have the body of the the
They
taiko
sounded
drums
very
in there.
flat to me. I don't know if that's just me.
Well, I don't think they sounded flat necessarily. I mean, they could have sounded fuller, but I mean, I don't think they
Mm.
necessarily sounded flat. I just think that it didn't. It sounded like someone had mashed these two recordings together, like it was an amateur mashup
Mm.
mix. Like someone had taken a recording of taiko drums and put it on the Nemophila song. It didn't feel like it was recorded in the same well, didn't sound like it was mixed by the same person. It just sounded like they stuck the two recordings together. So everything about it should have worked, but I think it was just a dodgy way it was mixed, which is weird because this is a really well mixed album. Like one of my favorite things about this is how this album's mixed and produced. I really like it. And yet for
Hmm.
some reason, the way they mixed this album for me was just like, sorry, this song was just weird. It didn't get the most out of anything, and I don't think it had I don't think it was the strongest song anyway. It was a good song, you know, sort of like a nice average good rocker, good album track, but the just the weird mixing of the taiko drums, which again should have been a real plus, just made the whole thing sound very weird. Like to me, it didn't work the way that the rest of the album
Yeah.
did.
And you
Yeah.
know, there is a song that has some of that more Middle Eastern Asian
Yes,
flavor about it, which in my
yes,
opinion works a lot better, which
yes.
is error detection, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I'm trying to remember now as we've all gone through this. Because
Where you
I
have
think
that
it was Aerosmith.
taka tiki taka
Yeah,
stuff.
I love that
Yes.
bit.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. Because yeah, okay.
Yeah, I got major
that's
like
what I'm talking
shanty
about.
shanty vibes from that. It was
Yeah,
pretty cool.
exactly. I
I
really
think
like that song. It's actually one of
the
my
only,
favorites.
the only problem with error detection actually is that that build up is so good in the bridge. You know, I always say that a good bridge builds you up to the last
Mm.
chorus. This builds you like you get verse, cool, chorus, cool, verse, cool, chorus, cool, bridge, building up, building up, building up, and it's so big by the time it throws into the last chorus that the chorus is almost like, oh shit, what do I do with this? The chorus actually feels a bit small when it eventually arrives because the bridge is
Mm.
so big, so much sound going
Yes,
on. Then when it just goes back to da na 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 na, it's like, oh shit,
I
we've
do
overdone
agree,
it.
but I think the length of the song,
The thong, the length of
length,
the thong,
the
eh?
length of the song kind of makes up for it because it's just 3 minutes.
Mm,
So it's
yeah,
not too
yeah,
long
no,
of a part afterwards.
it's
But
very
yeah, I
concise.
see
Yeah,
the
that,
point.
I mean
But
that's
still, I
another
would say it's a great song.
that's another point as well. This album flows so quickly. Like I know that some of the songs like aren't the longest. They've kept it like relatively pretty fast
It
paced
is
this album,
short.
and it flies past. Apart from is it Beautiful Days, which is
Yeah.
5.5 minutes, I think. Like most of the songs are relatively pretty at your average 3 minute runtime. Some a bit shorter, some just over it.
I was
But
quite surprised
Yeah.
when Burn It comes in as track four. You're like, oh wow, this is really slowing things down. This is where the album's taking its time. And then you look back at it later, it's like that's actually quite a fast song. It's just the three songs before it are so damn fast. You're like, oh, everything's chilling out now. This is our little break in the middle of the album.
The break. Yeah,
Yeah.
break, yeah, like soft filler. What I think the thing that impressed me most is I think all credit needs to go to Mayu as well for this. Mayu's always been one of those singers that I've always liked, but I've always put like other singers before her. Like she's never been the singer on my lips first compared to other singers. But this album, man, like put her on another level for so many different reasons. Her screams, absolutely amazing. But she goes from three different genres of singing, three different types of singing in here in this album as a whole. You've got her fast-paced screams, you've got her clean vocals, and I love like the almost punk-esque last song where she's clean, but she's still got that beautiful raspiness, that natural tone of her voice as well. And I gotta say, for the entirety of this album, I completely was like, oh, okay, I see you now. I see you.
I think probably, and this is something that again, I'd noticed a little bit since they became a four piece. And I mean, I could go back to this again. I'm not going to beat the drum too much in
Mm.
this one, but I do think that
but
there
we
is
should
a
mention
massive,
some.
Just do it.
Just do
I
it.
think there's a massive factor of the fact that they're being a four piece gives them more room for more tonality with each of them. But I think the biggest thing I've noticed with her improving is that Mayu's it's almost like she doesn't arbitrarily switch between now I'm screaming, now I'm clean vocals. It's like
Mm.
she's basically operating the way you kind of want it to be done on a scale between just singing normally nice and clean and then rockier and tenser and raspier until eventually the rasp takes over, the pitch starts to go away and it just becomes a scream. And that for me justifies it all because it all feels like it's on a scale of building up anger and tension. So you can feel when she's building up to those moments, and when they come in suddenly, they feel genuinely shocking, rather than just when you've got a singer who, like she had done on some of their very early stuff, not so much for a while, but on their very early stuff, where it's just like, oh, this is the bit where I scream now, and then this is the bit where I sing now. So this actually felt like there was a scale of emotion between clean and just raw screaming, which made all of it make sense for me.
Yeah. I think
I mean, I
Haraguchi as
feel
well.
it did kind of work before in the
Mm.
previous albums too, but I totally
I'm not
see.
saying none of the previous
Yeah,
albums.
yeah,
I'm saying like right when they began. Like, I mean, this is
yeah,
again,
yeah, yeah.
I've mentioned about Dissension before. Everyone loves Dissension. That song never clicked for me, and that's one of the reasons. It didn't feel
Yeah,
like
yeah, I see it in that context totally. But
it
one
didn't
thing I
earn the
wanted to
rage
ask,
for
I
me.
know you talked about this, them being a four piece, but actually listening to the album, I didn't expect so many songs to have like a solo section going on because I'm kind of wondering how will they do it live? In the Beautiful Days video, we can see Mayu
Yes,
using a guitar.
Blue Les
So
Paul girl.
I'm not sure if she will kind of take the Miku role, kind of having the rhythm part
I
sometimes
think
when a solo is going on, or how will they do it live otherwise?
I think it could
Because
be
there
one of
are two
two
guitars, you
ways.
can hear two guitar tracks
Well, I
going
was
on.
I mean, if the lot if they've been touring, so people might be able to answer this in the comments below. But I mean, they've got two ways of doing that. Either, yeah, Mayo can pick up and just do like this simple rhythm stuff, in which case you've got a rhythm and lead guitarist, perfect, and much more interesting for me than two lead guitarists. Or you could have certain songs where when the solo starts, the bass goes distorted, which a lot of bands
that's
do
what I
that
was
Yeah,
now.
gonna say. That
sure.
like I said, Haraguchi is like the one person who benefits the most in this whole entire album.
Yeah.
She really stands out here.
But
Um,
it didn't like I expected the songs actually to be a bit different because of the fact they have one less guitarist, but it kind of didn't really change too much for me. Or do you feel it changed?
I think
I
it
think they
did feel
used.
go on.
Sorry, I think they use more like electronic tones, definitely more like synths and back and stuff to
Mhm,
cover
mhm.
those things up. Like how they tackle that live, I don't know. But I
I
agree with Howard. I just think the bass will just be more distorted doing the rhythm part, and then the solo will happen.
I I think
yeah.
the thing is that ultimately this kind of reset to the whole point I was making about having like a four piece in the beginning, which is when you go into the studio, being a four piece is irrelevant. You should record whatever you hear in your mind. So if you hear a
Yeah.
song which has two guitar parts, three guitar parts, four guitar parts, synth, orchestra, you record it exactly as it is. And this song, obviously, as we've mentioned already, is full of all kinds of wild sounds as well. This album is full of wild sounds. So clearly they're just doing whatever they want in their minds. And then you think when you go to do it live, you then write a live version. So maybe you've got a song that you can't quite pull off. You want to use a backing track. Some people hate that. So you might want to rewrite an alternate version. But the thing is that ultimately, when you've got this lineup, you've got more freedom. You don't have to write two guitar parts in. And I think we felt that in a lot of the songs where there were really concise, aggressive guitar lines that felt aggressive because they were one guitar with all of that real
Hmm.
tangible
Hmm.
tonality that you get from hearing the strings of one guitar. It feels raw. It feels much more honest. This is what I said about Brainwash. You had two guitars on
So
that,
you
and I
contribute
guarantee it
that
sounded more.
to the one guitar because for me it was just that this album had a bit of more of an industrial sound to it, at least regarding the guitar sounds.
And I think that does come from having one guitar
Yeah,
because when you
that might be.
I mean, again, I'm not saying that you can't do these sounds with two guitars and you can't do them with one. What I'm saying is that there's an attitude that you tend to find bands with one guitar have to the sound. And when you've got two guitars, you're so used to layering that there's certain sounds that you usually go for when you're used to layering. But when you've got one guitarist, you don't automatically think of layering, which means that you tend to go for
Yeah.
these much more raw, like you say, industrial sounds. That tends to be the attitude.
Mhm, mhm.
So I don't think it's not necessarily one has to lead to the other, but I feel very confident that this change in their guitar sound is it's got to be at least in a way encouraged by that.
I will
Um,
have to listen to the album again with that in mind. Yes, I
that's how I
was,
felt at least. I'm
yeah.
sure there'll be plenty of people in the comments right now raging at me.
You know, but that's actually, I'm, I really like this album as well. Don't get me wrong here, but I'm not sure
Mm.
if we will have to see what will come out. It's the only album that came out this year, but I'm not sure if it will be the album of the year for me. Um, you
It's a
know,
long way to go, yeah.
I feel this album compared to the previous ones, Evolve and Seize the Fate even more, this feels a lot more consistent in a way and less experimental, therefore. So that's kind of one thing you have to like or not like, however. But to me, it had less of these, whoa, what the hell is this type of
Yeah.
song moments and just, yeah, a constant
I I
head
would say
banging windmill. I mean, I love that as well, and that's the whole album through. So yeah, I really, really like this album actually. But I feel the other previous albums had more experimentation to it. That's
that
just a fact, not really a positive or negative, I would say.
I mean, as you know, I like albums to have experimentation, and if I was to pick one hole in it, I would say that maybe I could have done with a few more tracks that went into a totally different direction. But I mean, we still got things like Beautiful Days on there, which I think is very important. We do have tempo changes. I think it was Burn It, wasn't it, where they went fully acoustic at one bit, and I'm like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I love. I actually
I
called that
I
out and said
love that moment.
I would love that
Yeah.
song purely acoustic. That needs to happen. We need an acoustic version of that
Well,
song.
I liked it because it was the variation, but I think this is probably the one thing I would say is that for me, this didn't have so much track to track variation, but what it did have was variation within the actual songs.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
you'd have a song that would suddenly become acoustic, a song that would suddenly have like, all kinds of like native instruments from like a Middle Asian country or something like that. You would have these. It was more like each song individually had loads of changes going on. I still think that Progress is probably my pick of the album. That's probably my favorite song on there. And one of the things I love about it so much is that it does throw so much at the board. It starts off, really intensely heavy, then it goes to like a sort of a poppy chorus. Then you go back into intensity again. Then you go into like hip hop. Then you go, big poppy chorus again. Then you go into like this weird chilled out, zoned out space. And then we go into the chorus again. And it's like all of that
Yeah.
in 3 minutes. The songs are so short, but it's not like that means there's less on this album. It just means there's more coming at you quicker.
Yeah.
So I feel like
And
the
also, for
variations
example, track
within.
9, I'm not sure what's the name of it because it's just Japanese kanji. Um,
It's
but it,
Anatadare, so it's
yeah,
like
I think
who are
it's
you
that
kind of.
one. It almost sounds like Hanabi at some point because they suddenly have
Mm.
all their cutesy vocals and like electronic fun beats and stuff. And yeah, it's a lot of still very diverse. Whoops, some videos just started.
Oh,
Yeah, very diverse still, but yeah, like you just said,
I
just
did
less
actually I did
track to
get a bit of
track.
a Hanabiya vibe from this as well, actually. There were certain tracks on this where it felt like it was the songs were changing so fast that
Yes.
I was like, wow, there is a bit of a Hanabiya vibe going on here.
Yeah, and
It's
but always, coming back to that just main badass, heavy, nasty style. So
I'm
really
I,
love that bass of the album that it's just in every track you have that kind of even Beautiful Days hits hard in a different way, but it's
Mm.
still heavy.
I was really impressed with Beautiful Days actually for like their one
Yeah.
song. I
And
compared to that to like how Baby
if I had to pick
Metal's.
one group like for my favorite power ballads, it would be Nemophila. I love all of their power ballads.
yeah, Odyssey was amazing as well. Although
Odyssey
I
and
heard they didn't write Odyssey.
Life, and
I
yeah,
love it.
they have a couple.
Yeah, they got really good on the power ballads. But again, that's part I think because Maya's got that big voice that just like she can sing those power ballads beautifully.
Totally.
Or I've
I could,
seen gone.
so I was gonna say I compared like Beautiful Day to how like Baby Metal has the one a little bit where it's that one sort of crowd pleasing, everybody's chilled, swinging side by side, kind of like crowd pleaser. I can see that as like a big, just slow down song. I think that'll be amazing live. I think half of these songs will be amazing live. I think that's one of the things Benedict touched upon. I think this is like less experimental than the previous albums, but I actually think this album will translate way better into live shows as well because it's just a
That
constant
might be, yes.
there's just a constant flow. I can see this album like if they played this album from first track to last and that was just their set, it'd be fucking amazing.
Yes.
It depends what you want from a live
But
show, in
yeah,
all
there's
fairness.
that. There's
I
that as well.
mean,
Yeah,
But I cannot disagree. It would be a badass
there,
show.
there's a lot of songs on here where, I mean, as we mentioned, the question is more how will that translate to live? Because there's a lot of songs on here that do have a lot of, like I say, internal experimentation. I mean, so you got to ask, if you were to play something like Progress live, are you going to do that with a backing track? Because it seems almost inevitable that you probably would. You
yeah.
could play that without a backing
Mhm.
track. You could completely
Well,
do a
to be
live instrumentation version, but that
yeah,
becomes a question. So I don't think it's so inevitable that this one is more of a live album, but I think the energy is very high, which maybe leans a little bit towards more of a live atmosphere. But
yeah.
um,
I definitely think they could probably just do like the rhythm guitar like as a backing track, to be fair. I mean, they got so much electronic stuff going on in the music.
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if that was like a tactical decision, but like, hey, if we sprinkle in lots of electronic stuff throughout the song, then once the backing track plays some rhythm guitar while she's soloing, nobody will know it.
and just in case you're in the comments now typing, they would never do that. They would never use fake guitars. You'd never feel it. Look, it's like so long as the band are playing their instruments, the backing track conversation is a whole different thing. If you want to add extra
Yeah,
layers of sound, extra layers of sound, so long as the four people are on stage playing what the four
playing
But you
people
know
playing
are
what
what
they're
playing,
people
playing.
will
everything else
answer to
is
that.
additional.
So if
Yeah.
you only play the triangle, then you can have the whole song as a backing track.
Well, then you shouldn't probably be going to see concerts of a one-man triangle band, then,
Don't
should
argue
you?
with me. I was just quoting the
No,
stupid people.
I was talking to
That
our
sounds much
hypothetical
better than the
dipshits.
one-man cowbell band I went to go and see.
Hey, Christopher Walken's tour was amazing. All right, leave him alone. Oh man,
What
yeah,
about
I
sorry, go
come.
on. Go on.
Oh yeah, no, I was going to say. I mean, I personally would say that there are things obviously I do like about some of their previous work a little bit more. I mean, I do like to have more variation from song to song, but I think, when you look at an album, it's difficult because you ask, where's the variation going to be? Is it okay to have variation from album to album? Have one album's like this, the next album's like that? Do you want variation from song to song? Do you want an album to be a complete mixture of everything the band does? Or do you want
Yes.
variation within the songs? Do you want a song to go through multiple different genres? It's like, on what scale do you request your variation, which is sort of something that I look for. I want artists to do more than just repeat the same thing over and over again. And I would say that although this particular album does feel like it's mostly in one particular vibe, one particular energy, I do feel like, listening through it, you don't feel like you're constantly being hammered with the same thing over and over again. You get songs that have a lot of variation within them. Then you've got things like Beautiful Days, where you get a whole song out into a different direction. And I think there's also there's a sense of joy as well for a very heavy album. I was quite noticeable that both the first song, Just Do It,
Yes.
and the last track, Good as Hell Quartet, both of them, you look at the chord patterns, they've got very strong rising chord patterns. They've got this sense of like a very choral sound where obviously they're sung in a melody that the audience is supposed to sing along with. Both the beginning and the end of this album are kind of like, we are happy, even in
Yeah.
heavy songs. They're heavy songs, but they have a distinct
I
vibe of,
really
look,
love that
we're
you
happy.
picked up on that because that's something I totally love about this album because this is something that will make me
Yeah,
want to listen to this album over and over again because
exactly.
yeah, it starts out and you're like, yeah, man, this is so fun. Let's keep going. And then it's over and you're like, wow, this was so fun. Let's just do it again.
Let's do it
Yeah,
again.
Just do it.
yeah.
Just do
This
it. Ah,
Do
I
it.
get it now.
Yes.
And there he was buying all those Nike trainers, and suddenly he's worked out. Nah, fuck, it wasn't that. But yeah, I totally agree. I think this album, and I again, I think it's always impossible to apply these things, but I can't help but feel that first photograph we saw them as a four piece was them with big grins all over their faces, smiling, and you could tell that's the energy they wanted to project. And even though this is arguably the heaviest album they've put out, I can't help but feel that the whole feeling of the album is come have fun with us.
Yeah.
We just want to have fun. Look, we want to have fun with you. Yeah, there's some meaningful stuff in here. It's not just a disposable album, but it's like we want to have fun. Come have fun with us.
I mean,
And that
hot
may be
take, metal is always about fun.
oh fuck off. Fuck right off with that shit. Fucking there's a genre called doom metal. There's a genre called death metal. Come have fun. We're all
Exactly.
doomed. You're dead now. Joy to the fucking world. What are you going on about? Anyway, sorry,
Very,
I
very
was being
nice.
too happy for a while. I had to let out some of that pent up reviewer energy.
Yeah, you see, Benedict's been hanging around with me too long now. He's getting the gift of the gab now. Yes, but metal is fun for everybody.
Starting to know how to
He's
trigger Howard.
He's going to start saying all these positive things and
To
getting
be fair, that's not hard.
thousands of subs.
Yeah, true.
To be honest, I mean, you could give me any song and I'll be triggered, and I've got an opinion about everything, which is usually means you've got nothing to say about anything as well. So I've got a lot of words and nothing to say. What can I say?
Well,
So the general consensus from the three of us is it's good for you two, but maybe prior for you two, you would go back to one of the previous albums more than this one. Would you say?
No,
Would you say that?
no, not
I think it's
necessarily.
a very different beast.
Yeah.
This album does feel very complete, and if you're in the right mood for it, it's absolutely complete. There are certain moods I want that Nemophila can provide that are not on this album, where I would have to go to their previous albums to find those moods. But if you were to ask me which album would I listen to cover to cover, I think that this is probably the one I would pick.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
Yeah,
fair enough.
kind of similar for me. I think this album overall it's a more consistent listen, but I also love the inconsistency of the previous album, if that makes sense, because
Sure.
that's just yeah, I love this pure punk rocky track, which is something we don't have on this album.
Yeah.
But I also love the yeah, basic straight heaviness of this album. So
I might
just
be the
depends
odd
on the
one.
mood.
I'm going to be the odd one out here and say that I like this album way more than the other ones. For me, this is my favorite. For me, this feels like a level above. And I
That
actually
makes it
quite
one out
like
before we just said that.
sorry, the variety is. I know that you guys enjoy it, but we go back to like the flows of an album, and I know you two guys you like the variations of their other stuff, but for me, this album just flows quick and fast, and so it's like running water to me. It's over before it's begun, and I just love every second of it. With the
I
exception,
mean,
with the exception of the patty drums.
but I'm going to backtrack a little bit there because I
You
actually think
mean
that what you're basically saying is I think you're inadvertently agreeing with us because I mean, Benedict, correct me if
Oh
I'm
yeah,
wrong here, but
it feels
I think the
it.
point I
think
think the point that we were making was that this album as an entire album is probably I mean, Benedict said he thought it was very consistent listen. I think we would both agree that this is the best listen from cover to cover of any of their albums. I think all three of us would agree on that.
I mean
I'm just saying
best.
that Nemophila, yeah, I mean, as well, I mean, I would say as an album, if you just want to listen to an album, but Nemophila are capable of things that we don't hear on this album. So I'm just
Yes,
saying,
Yes.
like, there might be things you want to hear from Nemophila that you can't get from this album. It doesn't take anything away from this album. It just means they've got other stuff in other places that you can go to. For example, I mean, I absolutely love Seize the Fate. I think it's a brilliant album.
Yeah.
I think one of the
Same.
reasons why I think this is a better album than Seize the Fate is because this feels more like an album. Seize the Fate flows quite well. It starts off heavy and sort of plateaus in the middle and then builds up towards the end. But there is a feeling that some of the songs feel a little bit like they're experimenting with pastiching styles. They're going for all these different things. They're having fun, but it feels a lot like they're oh, let's try that. Let's try that. It's very fun, but it
Yeah.
makes for a bit of a chaotic listening experience. Whereas
Okay.
this feels very comfortable. Just bam, runs through. It knows what it is. It delivers a lot of weird things along the way. Keeps you entertained for its entire running time. It's a really concise album.
So here's my question to you both quickly before we run out of time. Long way ahead now, but if you were to look ahead to the next album, what direction would you want them to take going forward? Like, would you want them to stay how they kind of are now, or would you like to see them go back to that more variation type style on their albums?
I think I would actually prefer them go back to the more experimental style, but only because we now have this more consistent style. You know, they could do like one consistent, one varied, one consistent, one experimental, kind of like that. You know, I love both. I love all of the albums for their what they are, and they are just something different. It's yeah, I think it just depends on the mood or like what you like more. It's not one thing is better or the correct direction, in my opinion. But I would say, yeah, overall, I find it more interesting to just have more variation.
I think I might word it differently, but I think I basically agree with Benedict in that I think the big thing about this album for me is this album feels incredibly comfortable. This is the first album where I would say they really sound like a band who know themselves, where every single song is very comfortably like, we have loads of ideas, let's explode them. It's chaotic, but in an excitable way rather than a hanging on to dear life to our own arrangements. It feels more like we're letting all of these ideas we have explode out. It feels comfortable. Now, therefore, I would kind of agree with Benedict in that it feels comfortable, and there is a lot of variation. Again, I do think it's variation. It's just within the songs rather than between the songs. And I would say that for me, I kind of agree with Benedict. It's like now they've done this and they've got this first really comfortable album, and it was so concise and it was so good that the next album is just build upon that. Do another album that's equally comfortable, equally creative, but now add even more ideas in because you've done this. This is great.
Yes.
Just add even more ideas and just build upon this really, really awesome anchoring point that you've made in your career. I think we all fucking agree on way too much here. This is big.
I know this is
The
weird.
album is too consistent.
The album's too fucking good, is what the problem is. We all like
Nemophila
it.
have brought us
kind of.
together. Oh, isn't that sweet?
And I hope we brought you guys together as well. Don't forget to leave a like and
fucking
subscribe
hell,
to
that
the
was
channel as well.
That was the
And also a big
saccharine
shout out.
segue.
Yeah, and also a big shout out to our sponsors, Why Golf, for sponsoring this video.
And Raid Bug Spray.
Oh my God.
So yeah. No, we don't have sponsors yet.
I mean,
But yeah, no.
subscribe to our channel. Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's see if we get the Nemo fans to get us over 1,000 subscribers.
That's
And
got to
the
be
Shia
that's got
LaBeouf
to be
fans.
Benedict's. That's got to be Benedict's thing now. It's like so.
Just
Neon
do
is
it.
why golf, and Benedict's just going to be just do it.
Just do it.
He's such a mild-mannered individual, and then he's going to have that dark turn. Just do it.
Next time on East to the East.
We fight again. This has been a strangely we agreed too much on this video.
I mean, the album is great. What else do you want to?
I hate every second of this recording. All this agreeing makes me sick. Who the fuck are you people?
You want me to get back to fun metal things?
I see. You just see that 1,000 subscribers getting closer, and you all start trying to make these podcasts nice. You fakes.
Now we're famous. We have to get Howard out somehow.
It's like, I'm the one who's holding you back, right? Yeah. I'm the one who's holding you back. You gotta get rid of me. Oh, anyway, well, hopefully I'll still be here in the next video. I know these two wonderful individuals probably will be. And yeah, get in the comments. Tell us your opinions on the album. Tell us your favorite track. Tell us all that sort of stuff. Talk to us and give us updates on anything you want us to cover. Remember, we're always interested to hear other things that you want us to talk about as well. And until we do, hopefully see you for the next one of these videos. Remember to keep your ears to the
Best only album of the year.
oh yeah.